62. It's hard to argue with the statement, war cannot be stopped. How many of history's tens of thousands were? Handfuls. Then again, no one has tried disbanding the armies and destroying their weapons despite a million straight diplomacy failures based on keep giant arsenals ready and all dirty politics to build even bigger. Just don't touch 'em, please. Nor has world schooling ever condemned nationalist, racist, religious superiority propaganda, including righteous vengeance against and murder of inferiors. Palestinian college students across America are demonstrating against American-Israeli slaughter of Gaza civilians for 7 months straight. 40,000 killed, 75,000 wounded. Decades ago, an American student movement against South African apartheid, crushing blacks, successfully pressed universities to divest of investments which benefited the racist regime. These young Americans strengthened a world movement that indeed helped to end South African apartheid. Embargo politics can win. Israel, however, just received a $23 billion American bomb and other weapons infusion, and international trade withdrawal is not on the horizon. I suggest that opponents of ever-escalating siege and genocide against Gaza attack war crimes in national and international courts and reach as many American voters as possible to gang up on our vicious military dictators. Connect with an Israeli peace movement to unseat Netanyahu for a peace leader. Demand a halt to civilian bombing, negotiation for hostage return, and a deal with Hamas that trades their rocket and assault gun demilitarization for the end of American and IDF forces of primarily 2,000-pound bombs against every law of war ever made. Today, Hamas and the IDF battle, each claiming this can achieve security of their civilians, in the face of 70 years of history proving that war only begets endless war and infinite insecurity, not to mention total disaster. Hear my speeches, war boys. Your only peace, security, and fulfillment, not to mention everyone's, is independent, demilitarized of invasion weaponry democracy granted both former antagonists. Unfortunately, multi-generational warrior pairs like Hamas and the IDF, backed by worldwide weaponeers and proxy warriors, understand nothing of peace benefits. The leaders especially are certain that their best future possible depends on maximum weapons, hate, and killing. Their power, money, and pride stay good only as war never ends. Actual strategy of the smartest and most ruthless. This deliberate chain reaction continues with today's savagery against at least one side's civilians. Even your own people's deaths and ruin keep the ball rolling beautifully. Weapons will forever flow in from all who need the money or hate your enemies. Use those weapons to invite the opponent's revenge. So your own subjects will never realize that their own leaders' war passion ruins their lives fully as much as attacking adversaries. Keep lying that you defend them until no truth survives in their minds. Each government's and soldiers' funds extend beyond the fighting money to provide them better livings than their physically and economically savaged subjects. We're good, so F you. These basically content war machine cogs will never decommission themselves to have a try at selling used cars. Their entire 10,000-year system hums unabated on a single fuel: weapons that kill people, growing hate that gets more weapons, inciting ever more war. The weaponeers buy entire governments with 5% of their profits, ensuring bigger contracts and endless world battle. All constitutional peace and war citizen choice law is crushed under the weight of bribery for weapons always expanding wars. If we banned just the bribery, weaponeers with all for sale would still find buyers enough to explode war. Just reforming law to support citizen control of war choices, with bribery and weaponeering intact, would find citizens terrified of weaponized world war, voting to expand war, persuaded by war propaganda that they are defending themselves. War is a starfish. Cut off several of its arms, leaving one or two to keep it alive, and it will regrow the amputated appendages. Only our treaty can kill the entire bastard dead, not endlessly regenerative. Only our war cancer surgery, chemo, and radiation will kill every tumor, or planet Earth's every human body dies real early. Every weapon primarily used for rarely legal or justified invasion, nukes, missiles, TNT and plastic explosives, blitzkrieg tanks, bombers, long-range artillery, and giant armies of foreign conquest, as opposed to small border defenses against other small border defenses. You negotiate them all down worldwide until an economically vital majority of nations, getting as far along this disarmament process as possible, must then embargo all who should not be able to protect their evil governments from desperate revolt, with zero trade from the huge peace majority. Because remaining weaponeers would bribe leaders to destroy their treaty and buy another 10,000 years of war, every private gift to leaders must be outlawed. While any industrial capacity remains to make and market weapons worldwide to hundreds of militias boycotting an international and national disarmament treaty, all government's allowance of anyone selling weapons of war inside or across borders must be ended. Because world stocks of existing weapons and ammunition could kill another billion, your treaty must destroy those weapons. Because intact weapon assembly lines and companies cannot remain to manufacture more, especially the bombs, shells, and bullets to reload all weapons left in existence, the physical, financial, legal existence of weapons factories must be ended. Remaining availability of basic police and border defense weapons and even ammunition, used up mighty slowly, should keep planet Earth well defended, with perhaps 1/millionth of the current weapons industry left permitted to defend only all who legitimately, peacefully need it. Weapons industry currently maintaining many nations' horrific private and drug cartel murder rates clearly must be as radically curtailed by our border defenses only treaty as its world civil and international war industrial supply our treaty kills. Mind if I boil my 30 hours down to 2 seconds? Weapons kill. Kill weapons. I'm mad as hell, and I won't take it anymore. I simply cannot take another minute of TV news about kids suffering. But like a train wreck, I can't turn away. You and I can and must put a stop to this. Please help decommission not just today's, but all wars that need never come. Did you see and hear the 8-year-old interviewed in his Gaza hospital bed? He held up his leg with a steady grimace of pain. Blood-soaked gauze was wrapped around the stump, lacking shin and foot. A bomb destroyed my house. I lay on my side under rubble. When they finally pulled away the concrete, I tried to stand up, then saw that my right leg below the knee was ripped off. Since I was 4, I was a great soccer player. I planned to be a professional. Now I will never play another game. Besides running with my friends, I've never known a minute of happiness during this occupation. Now even my happy dream of a soccer career is dead. The camera journalist headed down the hall to interview another 8-year-old boy whose life dream, ironically, was to become a photographer reporter too. This little boy held his armless shoulder very hard, fresh from surgery way short of sufficient anesthetic, followed by exactly 0 pain medicine, thanks to the intentional medical supply siege. Can't let Hamas beasts heal their wounds to pick up another gun, right? The tear-stained boy could not let go of the 2-inch stump where his arm used to be. My love has always been photo and movie journalism. Now my career dream is gone. It takes 2 arms to hold a big movie camera. That bomb ruined my life. What does indiscriminate bombing cause besides the grief of billions losing a 500 million? 2 8-year-olds just told you. His stories, warmongers and profiteers' bombs have crippled to suffer in despair hundreds of millions of children. And only one crazy man says, outlaw and destroy all bombs as fast as possible. Shame on you if you do not make it 2 and recruit another 2. The power and hate pleasure of the massively armed and warring patriarchs decides, then ignores the price they force women and children they sentence to death or living hell on earth to pay. In many countries, we permit our taxes to buy the missiles, bombers, and bombs for invasion, and in the rest, militarization to defend against the attackers. Do you love and care about children everywhere, not your biological own? So did the billions for 10,000 years, praying and begging for peace. Pretty please. Keep your bribes and bombs. Just be nice anyway, and don't use them. The warriors always said, sure, sweeties, trust us. Then how do they kill, maim, dominate? Armed force you allow them to keep. Manipulated law or no law, they, never you, make and take advantage of. So what is the only way that you will disempower them? Greater law. For disarmament to enthrone love, not armies, to conquer all. I have voiced my anger to you before about how the world gun business corrupts governments to also conspire to boom humanity to our current billion firearms, mostly sold to defend against other civilian or military killers, all making murder merchants' day. Yes, money is the root of its vastly increased, bribed, murderous evil. Hoping to get you half as mad as me, let's remember what the standard war and now civilian power assault gun 2,000 miles an hour hunk of lead is designed to do to the human head, most killers' principal target. And although it's not my central point, one single headshot elevated to the U.S. presidency Lyndon Johnson, who reversed Jack Kennedy's Vietnam restraint exactly as war dealers had spent 20 years frantically bribing and lobbying for. The 2.5 American war military to blast 2 million Vietnamese and 57,000 Americans to death. Have you ever seen frame 238 of the President Kennedy's Zapruder assassination film? 1/18th of a second before, on frame 237, President Kennedy had a head. Now watch a cloud of blood and brains 4 times larger than that head fill the movie. Plenty more gore filled Jackie Kennedy's lap. She could only stroke the bloody remaining hair of her dead love during the pointless rush to Parkland Hospital. Have you seen the most famous headshot photo in history, called The Falling Soldier? Taken in the Spanish Civil War, a soldier's knees have buckled. His outstretched arm has reflexively flung away his rifle. A telltale blob of blood jumps a few inches above his head. The lighter bullet, at a mere 1,000 miles an hour, didn't blow his skull off or his brains out, just quietly killed him dead. You'd have to be pushing my 71 to have seen the photo of Saigon's police chief killing a handcuffed Viet Cong prisoner on a public street. Magazine covers the world over showed him clenching the trigger of a pistol next to the victim's ear. His head was flung sideways, eyes clenched shut, a grimace of shock. Years later, I was suddenly forced, without warning, to watch the video. The teenage soldier was slammed flat to the ground in a quarter of a second. His lifeblood erupted above in a bright red 3-foot geyser. Only your laws could reduce the gun business to essential private and police necessity. Sane control, certainly not in violation of the Second Amendment that only guarantees the right to keep and bear arms in a well-ordered militia, meaning then and today the National Defense Military, not insurrectionist traitors stocking up to assassinate government officials. Only outlawing weapons companies will prevent another 110 years of 8,000 per day war slaughter. Every single killing, and the multiples maimed too, ripping gross, bleeding chunks out of human bodies by flying exploding hunks of metal, more accurately called bombs, missiles with warheads, not bullets. To remain content with this mass tragic certainty, those 300 million slaughtered must flit gone from our minds as any other half-second mirage. Why do you think I shoved back in your head Technicolor movies of 3 exploded brains and 2 ruined 8-year-old boys? Because I'm your worst nightmare and greatest inspiration, love. Most of this savagery comes from armies armed to attack, not defend, and kill for money militias and drug cartels inflated hundreds of times by Murder Incorporated. Pure evil that no current leader on earth, only you and I, have any intention and ability to disarm, thus, along with your heavy weapons bans, fully ending war. Unless my movement never begins, only ends one lonely, crying, dying voice in the wilderness. A single 71-year-old tree fallen without a sound. Then quietly set down your ink pen, email, and telephone. Back to your video games. Now you and every old and young family member that you think you love and protect, just not actively, try to enjoy the few years or less you have left. Listeners have good reason to become weary and disgusted with my harping on homicidal mass tragedy. Then I ask you to compare our certain far worse future beyond the inhuman Holocaust forgotten and ignored, not learned from. Compare with that glorious millions of years of peace and love that we all could have and give if you just made far better human public law. And you'll give me a break. Aren't I really the sunny utopian you can't live without? Much of America's real estate and medical industry is being bought out and often harmed and destroyed by private equity. Industry that does not offer stock for public trading and ownership. Read Plunder by Brendan Ballou. Like many for-profit endeavors, private equity is great at wringing fees and profits from its buyouts, a fifth of which go bankrupt after the plunder. We buy endangered businesses. Of course, a percentage finally fail, reasons a defender. A nursing home's already marginal care staff was cut to the bone after private equity takeover, apparently causing the death of a patient. The aggrieved family sued. The equity firm's pricey lawyers carried the day. Watch our multiple shell companies dance across the table. Rub your eyes now. The low-level management that poorly handled that woman's care cannot be legally connected to the 10 mysterious steps removed ownership. A mobile home park in California was purchased by a private equity firm. Low-income residents had enjoyed their only chance to survive in an otherwise massive home-cost California environment. The new lot owners jacked their modest monthlies to the moon, so high that not only were the residents financially broken, but their newly cost-ravaged property became too worthless to sell. Their lawsuit was pathetic. They collected thousands of cans to sell for 1 or 2 legal hours, while the mighty firm's three-piece suits played the "don't look at us" shell game. The bankrupted residents lost, of course. Private equity's $10 trillion American takeover is often destruction of people to extract maximum money while they financially and sometimes physically die. Every federal and state law is twisted to give them carte blanche to plunder. Why? How? $900 million from private equity alone poured into campaign kitties of lawmakers and executives with ultimate hiring and other decision power over regulators now become foxes guarding all American government hen houses. Government designed by our Constitution was control and limitation of savagely dangerous big dogs to keep citizens from getting mauled. Then our modern government designed by bribery became control, limitation, and mauling of mere taxpayers, not donors, always to explode the profits of the players running everything by all means necessary, including rape and murder of citizen fodder, not human beings. Common sense regulation of the private equity industry has certainly been designed and proposed. All industry conducting profit-seeking within public living and well-being arenas like healthcare and real estate shall be limited to financial and public care actions that fully avoid destroying people's livelihoods, homes, or health. Reasonable ceilings for mobile home fees. Nursing home staffing adequate to protect health. The extremely few politicians not on the company's twist law take, and the minority of regulators willing to risk their paychecks by actually doing their protect the public, not the big dogs and jackals jobs, are constantly begging for laws of governance, not its exploitation opposite. Then the 95% corrupted presidents, legislators, and agency pawns are reminded by their bribers that industry full force to buy their next election defeat, and can any remaining regulator with public, not private, special interest priorities will kill their public careers fast after single public rescue votes are registered or humane rules against their business bully bosses are made. American democracy died a decade ago the day the U.S. Supreme Court decided in Citizens United, the plaintiff title a 100% lie, you notice, to explode to the maximum corporations united government bribery for thousands of times returned robbery, tyranny, tax money, and life-saving law denied. Only you can restore, in the vast majority of utterly stolen and victimized nations, national and world government of laws, not rapacious corporate men. Only when you sue until stopping every private political gift dollar, even your in no way innocent non-corporate $20 candidate support, will cleaned up leaders govern the dangers for your safety, rights, and votes, exactly as most nations' founders fought for and ordered. You've had enough mauling by this bad news bear. So cheer up while I report new hope for the Amazon rainforest, if not progress actually watering those drought-endangered trees. After a fully corrupt President Bolsonaro boomed agribusiness and miner torching to destroy 10% of the Amazon, the former President Da Silva was re-elected to the rescue and now works hard at stopping the commercial cancer dooming our lungs of the earth. But you must keep in mind the agenda of 8 billion not to let every tree spared cutting down or torched then dying of drought. Nor can you overlook the fate of the Congo's second largest rainforest in the world soon being hacked down for firewood. Their government continues its international appeal for funding to expand the world's biggest hydroelectric potential far above current realized 2.5%, so the Congo can light, cook, and heat with electricity, not billions of burning logs, Unless 8 billion stingy, stupid idiots would prefer world forest death to quintuple stratosphere CO2 until their rain, lakes, rivers, food, and of course hydroelectric power are all gone. I don't know about you, but if I have to sweat out 125-degree summers, can I at least have a running water hose to dump over my head and stick in my mouth? And enough food grown with enough water to let me fix it for supper? No? Well, I should have thought of that before forgetting to make idiot leaders collect ocean steam and flood water when we had a few years left to gear up the projects, right? Now I got nothing to wash down my 60 fentanyls with. Oh well, munch and swallow. How pointless are my speeches unless you act on them? Then make ones 1,000 times better and more expert yourself. My two themes are chain reaction world apathy ugly death, or instead your wonderful cause and effect campaign for survival and love. The scariest, roughest, dangerous odds challenge is our best attempt to water forests would dramatically slow CO2 rise that still will allow severe drought increase for some decades, making ever more essential both massive new freshwater sourcing and delivery and huge explosion of CO2 air scrubber factories. Now forget 1% of this happening without ending corrupt militarism to recover our money, honey. If you get with the rescue program, then our grandkids will ask a few questions in 2080. Are we still alive? Are trees? Do we have water and crops? Has CO2 dropped back towards pre-industrial 240 parts per million? Good. Then buy umbrellas. Our rain is back. Summer's pleasant. The earth is green. And smart lovers, led by women again, have started another 2 million years of heaven without murder or tyranny. Certainly ample rescue technology and disarmament plus bribery banning laws will stay essential. But no one can argue that matriarchy was not already 2 million years proven, or that 10,000-year patriarchy had to be outlawed. The government measures led by you, necessary to save your kids and most of your parents too, will cost even more than the $2.3 trillion that humanity wastes on war each year. It's a good thing, then, that public campaign finance only will stop 100 other industries from treasury robbery too. Then constitutions directing government for our general, not special interest welfare will actually be obeyed, but only by outlawing the bribery from public tax parasites who already make private enterprise fortunes many, many times bigger than the sizable fraction happy enough with middle-class security. There's your rescue money, honey. Go get it back. We're going to need every nickel just to survive. I speak up to achieve our own precious tax expenditure for true government help too complex for us privates to organize, and to rescue us robbery victims from jackals growling and ripping on our bloody carcasses. You are aware that their American $35 trillion theft from our grandkids soon dooms Medicare and Social Security, are you not? Corporations cannot be allowed to run our governments and loot our treasuries because opposite of their lying legal argument, they are not individuals with rights and ethics, only lying conspirators claiming that elite bribery to corrupt leaders and steal elections is free and equal political speech. Unregulated corporations and infinitely expanding armies are nothing more than carnivores, viciously twisted from animal to human prey, feasting on our money, freedom, security, health, well-being, and lives. Their thousand propaganda lies about evil races, religions, and flags, and the glory, justice, and satisfaction of abusing and killing our inferiors are but clever, complete indoctrination of us, actually purposeful distraction from their ugly, indefensible, thus hidden games of power and hoarding, switched, as I said, from animal to human prey. And your total reform solution? Our movement to seize our so far stolen, never achieved government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Achieved only by constraining legally those people hunters entirely below and beyond human harm certainty. Just take away their tools, Jules. Only us family, biological lovers and guardians are also capable of running our governments with love, law, and care, exactly as 2 million years of matriarchs did with loving, modest, male hunter help before the techno, army, commerce, public tyrant money men took over. Now our active, lawful, human family love must conquer them and reverse total environmental destruction mighty fast to save you and I and every dear family.